Make sure you guys smash that subscribe button if you guys are fans of the content being posted onto this channel to always be in the loop with more content similar to this, and be sure to hit the video up with a like if you're enjoying the content. And with that being said, let's begin. With Scream 5 looming over the horizon, scheduled to be released in January of 2022, many fans within the horror and Scream community are seemingly excited as to the overall potential and the hype surrounding Scream 5 and the upcoming Scream movie. However, there are so many fans speculating and theorizing as to what may or may not happen within the film, a lot of people displaying concern, a lot of people displaying lots of hopefulness over on YouTube and many other social media platforms. However, what exactly is going to be the best and worst case scenarios for the upcoming Scream movie? As joining me here today to further discuss the concepts of Scream 5 is my good friend and YouTuber Mark and I. Now Mark, me and you are both Scream fans, and I can speak on both of our behalves when I say that I'm very excited to see what this movie is going to bring. However, my question to you is, what do you think is the absolute best case and worst case scenarios for Scream 5? Because if the movie is still slated to drop in January, then I think that's a very bad thing. Any movie, any horror movie specifically, that drops in January is known for being a movie that's basically washed up. It's garbage. We've seen that with Leatherface, we've seen that with The Grudge, we've seen that with so many other movies. So with Scream 5, there is so much potential to either reintroduce older characters, run with a brand new narrative. So in your opinion, what do you think is the absolute best case and worst case scenarios for Scream 5?
Dang, that is a broad, loaded question that is very hard to answer. If I could answer that accurately, I would be in the movie making business and you'd be calling me, giving me ideas on what you want to see in the next movie, because I'd be writing the damn thing. So, like I said, there's a couple of things that I look at, and a lot of it has to come back to the formula. And again, I really can't stress enough, this is just my opinion. I can't speak on behalf of anyone other than myself. I don't even know if the majority of fans would agree with me. This is just something that I think about when I go to see a movie that I have higher expectations of. Not just, I'm bored, I'm going to go to the movies. And that wouldn't be what I would expect from a Scream movie. I would expect certain things. And I think I owe a lot of it to seeing stories and watching media where it doesn't follow the typical formula. It doesn't follow the good guy is this person and they're always going to live. It's, okay, here's the cheerleader, the stoner, the dweeb, the virgin. Don't do that. Don't follow all that same stuff. We've seen it all before so many times. If you're going to go back to the roots, which it sounds like they kind of want to do a little bit, don't go back to plot elements that we've seen so many times before. We still want to be surprised. You can pay respects to the original first or second movie without copying and pasting it. Okay, this isn't going to be like a Force Awakens situation where literally every element is duplicated from episode 4. It can't be like that. It has to be something that we haven't seen. And I think one of the things to look at is they've had 10 years now to go from Scream 4 to Scream 5. That's a lot of time to sit on this franchise and be like, okay, you know what? We actually have an idea. And I think there's something to think about here, is that this movie is a direct sequel to 4. Not a reboot, not a spin-off, not a prequel. It is a direct sequel, which means they have an idea that they think is good. Now, that also tells me that if they didn't release Scream 5 within, a year or two after Scream 4, that they didn't have necessarily a plot that they wanted to do immediately thereafter. So I have a feeling that it went something like, the executives were like, hey, we got this Scream IP, there's something you can do with it. And then maybe some people were like, yo, we have some really good ideas. Maybe we got something from Wes Craven that he said that he wanted to see, in the 5th one, and we think we could run with it. So we watched, Scream 4 100 times straight without stopping, and we realized there's a bunch of little teasers and tidbits and things in here that were left sort of open a little bit or had some loose ends that we can, connect to make it super interesting. They would have to do that. It has to be very, very clever. It has to be different. It has to be clever, but also by paying respects to the original, because with slasher movies, there was a big place for that in the 70s and the 80s, and as time went on, things started to evolve a little bit, the 90s, and then even the 2000s, it just became a lot more how much blood can we show, how much CGI guts can we show, it just sort of became such a cliche that it was sort of boring. You become sort of numb to seeing someone getting their head chopped off or being split in half, like the 100th time in a row. Like, it needs to feel fresh. So it can't subscribe to the good guys always win. It can't subscribe to elements that we've already seen, by it being like a previous boyfriend or a brother or a cousin trying to kill you. Like, but it also has to make sense. I would hate for this movie to introduce a killer that is someone we've never seen before. I would honestly be fairly annoyed if this movie was like, okay, hey, this is Bradley. He just moved in from the town over, and, you know, he's hanging out with us, and he's a good guy, and he's fascinated with Sidney. He's fascinated with all the Ghostface killings, and he just, you know, and then he turns out to be the killer. Like, you can't do that. Like, I want to be shocked, but then also don't make it be someone that we didn't see for the whole movie at all. Like, if they're like, you know, you see maybe they're walking through the hallway of like the high school or something like that, and they bump into a janitor who knocks his keys over. They spill his mop water and they laugh at him, and then you don't see the janitor for the rest of the movie, and then all of a sudden at the very end it's the angry janitor who had to clean up his mop water. Like, I don't want it to be like that. It needs to be deeper rooted into the lore of Sidney. It has to hurt, and it has to move the audience. We have to feel something strongly, and we have to walk away from it knowing that Scream is not a feel-good franchise. It's not a feel-good movie. We're not gonna walk out of the movie theater and be like, I feel fantastic. Oh my gosh, like the bubbles and rainbows and sunshine, it just feels so great. No, like, it needs to hurt. I want to feel the same way I did when Robb Stark got slaughtered at the end of the Red Wedding. That's what I want to feel. That was one of the first times I ever felt like this is a main character that is super duper strong, that will survive anything, because that's what I have been told through storytelling since I was able to comprehend like plot progression. And then they're like, nope, sorry about that. He dead. His mom's dead. His wife's dead. His baby's dead. Like, they really made it hurt to the point where I was speechless. I want to be speechless. Does that mean kill Sidney? I mean, maybe. I mean, it's long overdue, but I want to see something that we haven't seen before. And if you've got 10 years to do a direct sequel to Scream 4 and you've got all the cast coming back, I feel like they might have an ace like up their sleeve.
So it's interesting, you brought up the concept of a cult, and me and you have talked about this on camera, off camera, and it seems like you have this narrative to where if there were to be a cult, and this cult were to be behind, you know, Sidney having to be stalked, or Sidney just being pursued after, what would that narrative even be about? You know, like, why insert this idea of a cult? Don't get me wrong now, we've talked about the concept of if they did happen to bring back Stu and there was some sort of a cult, that would be insane if the leader behind that cult was in fact Stu, right? But anything is possible, I feel like, within the horror franchise. They could ultimately bring characters back, they could ultimately write off characters without even having to bat an eye. So you bring up the idea of a cult. Why a cult specifically, and why do you think that perhaps that could work best instead of it being some sort of a relative or some sort of a friend per se?
There's something about Scream as a franchise that always made me feel like the killer in the movies was always worshipped. And it wasn't necessarily the person underneath the mask ever. It was always some sort of worship of the mask itself. It was always something like that. Like, I think there was just something of, like, if it wasn't the mask, then these people wouldn't care to pick up the same mask and torment Courtney with it, or Sidney. Like, I just don't think that it really makes a lot of sense for people to be so devoted to using the same mask. I mean, yeah, sure, she recognizes that that's scary, but like, you're killing all of her friends and a bunch of high school teenagers. Like, that's horrifying. It doesn't really matter what your mask looks like if you're slaughtering people left and right. Like, that's just crazy. I think that there's something about it where there's a certain devotion to the role. And I think given that it stretches further than just, okay, this is a single psycho. It's not like Michael Myers. We talked about this. It's not one person in the mask that you fear that is out for vengeance. It is multiple people. What makes Sidney Prescott so polarizing, so mesmerizing, so desired to be killed? Like, what is it about her? Like, I understand that there are things like envy and revenge and like, there's just a desire for fame and attention. Like, there's all these things. But what is it about Sidney Prescott that makes her so desirable to be slaughtered like this by her own family, by her friends, by her loved ones, by the extended relationships of those people as well. Like, some force wants her dead, and it's not supernatural. So what is it? There has to be something else that connects them, I've always felt. And again, this is one of those things where I know that not everybody feels the same way I do, and I'm certain that there's not a lot of people. I'm certain there's a lot of people that would disagree with me. Maybe there's a minority that would agree with me. Maybe nobody agrees with me. I don't know. But I have always felt like, you know, you've got the hoods and the cloaks and like the robes and just the way the character looks. It looks like something you would see where there would be like some sort of, you know, many-pointed star in the middle of like a room at night, and there's like salt circles, and there's goat blood, and maybe like, you know, bull horns and a skull, and a bunch of people are sitting there chanting, and they're all wearing like the exact same garb, and they've got maybe some sort of weapon and devotion, and maybe they're doing a prayer. There's something about Scream, or Ghostface in particular, that reminds me of that. And I feel like with so many people that are willing to go out of their way to try and kill her, because like let's remember just for a second, like her cousin tries to kill her, right, in the fourth one. And it's like, you know, whether or not you're so cocky and arrogant as to think that you can kill dozens of people or more and get away with it and come out of it being the victim and looking like, you know, you suffered through all of this, like, you have to be so overwhelmingly narcissistic to even think that you could pull that off, to let alone try to pull it off, to let alone make it to the end and see the finish line and like still push for that. And I feel like there's got to be something more to that than just the delusion and the narcissism. Like, there's something else. There's something that they want. There's something that's motivating them and pushing them. And I mean, it all comes back to Sidney, because let's just say this, like, it seems like Sidney's cousin trying to kill her, which was, Jill Roberts, I think was the character's name, I think. So Jill wants to kill Sidney because Sidney has all this attention. But if she's so crafty and clever that she could take that many human lives to make herself the center of attention, why not just kill other people? Why not do something a little bit more extreme that's unrelated to Sidney? She survived this far. She's obviously resourceful. There's obviously a lot of connections that she has with authorities and protection and stuff. Like, she's crafty and clever, but she took the one route that was assuredly going to result in her death and her being outed for being the killer. So I guess what I'm just saying is it just seems like there needs to be some sort of behind the scenes manipulation that is pushing these characters to do such crazy things, because this town has had like 100 people killed by people wearing this cloak and this mask. Like, that's crazy. So I don't know. I just feel like there has to be something, if not supernatural, it has to be, it's got to be the strength of the human manipulation or something like that, the power of suggestion that makes them do it.
I think when looking at the Scream community, a lot of people don't want to see another relative. People don't want to see this idea of Sidney having this mysterious child, or Sidney's father just coming out of the blue. You know what I'm saying? So I think that the overall concept of, you know, a relative is kind of played out. I want to see something different, something that's going to stick, because depending on how you want to do slasher films, this could work very, very well if done right. And I think that it needs to be something unexpected. It needs to be something that really could be the monkey wrench that turns this franchise over on its head in a good way, right? I think that if they were to insert this idea of something predictable, that'll be really bad. But we want to get your thoughts in the comment section below about said discussion. If you guys feel as though there should be a cult, there should be a mysterious relative, it should be a friend, what are your overall best case and worst case scenarios for Scream 5? Drop your thoughts in the comment section below. Again, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for your time. If, of course, you guys enjoyed, then be sure to go on ahead and smash that subscribe button and turn on all notifications to never miss a single upload video on the channel. Hit that like button down below. Tune back in for more. Subscribe to Mark9's channel. I will leave his link also located down below in the description box and in the comment section. So thank you all once more, and we'll be seeing you all in the next video. Take it easy, guys. Peace.